Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home. Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Welcome to the Freebirth Society podcast. This is a radical space for women who are ready to celebrate their autonomous choices in birth, motherhood, and beyond. Together, we'll learn about wild birth through personal narrative, we'll explore the politics of birth, and we'll analyze everything that relates to our lives as women from a feminist perspective. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Sister, are you ready to call in your next baby? Longing for a child and yearning deep in your body for your baby to be conceived, but not yet being pregnant is such a tender and precious time. My name is Nancy Lucina. I am Freebirth Society's in-house shamanic facilitator, and I channeled our Welcoming Your Spirit Baby home course to guide you in this transformative journey. Imagine having a wise sister midwife you through the initiation of conscious conception, so that you are able to truly receive all of the lessons and healing of this time. What would it feel like to connect and communicate deeply with your baby? Who would you be if you could cut through the hustle of your modern life and create spaciousness in your body, heart, and spirit for this next babe to come through you? Imagine any fear and worry about when and if resolving. This course is a gentle and loving initiation into facing and transforming your fears, deepening your trust in the divine timing, and preparing your body, mind, and spirit for conception. Go to freebirthsocietycourses.com/spiritbabies to open the portal for your next child.
Today on the show, we have the beautiful Ashley Rae sharing her first sabotaged birth experience on the farm in Tennessee. Her invasive industrial birth experience with her daughter initiated her into what then became an intuitive-led pregnancy and free birth with her son. Ashley Rae shares her wisdom of what it felt like to return to ancestral and sacred ways of birthing as she became the sacred spring for her family's nourishment. We also discuss birth as the pinnacle of spiritual ascension and placenta medicine magic. Enjoy.
I guess I would like to begin at the beginning, because every little piece really leads it into itself. So I always knew that I wanted to have babies. I was the one that was writing down names and thinking of names. It was like my way to pass time.
Totally.
Because cute. Public school is, just
the worst.
A babysitting situation. So yeah, to pass the time, I would write down names and think of my babies and how beautiful they would be. And eventually I realized that my life had been so challenging and so hard that I knew as a woman I was going to have babies. So eventually I would get there, but that was like this beautiful, pure thing that I held on to. That was like, oh wow, like one day I get to do that, and how beautiful and renewing it would be. So definitely always going to be a mama, knew that from the start. And my lover and I, we met in 2016. And after 4 months of being together, he proposed. We came in Paris. It was beautiful. It was like the most beautiful proposal. And then we came back, and in December, we moved to New York City. And he came to me and was like, he's a rock star. So he was like, I've already done everything that I'm going to do in my life. We should have a baby.
You mean like a literal rock star?
Yeah, literal rock star.
Let's just be clear.
Yeah, so he had been touring forever, like with Metallica, like big deal. And I was like, I did not anticipate him saying that to me, right?
Whoa.
Like he came to me and was like, let's make a baby. So I was like, I needed no sway. I was just like, yes, we're doing this.
Right. You're like, I actually have a list of names.
Yes.
From my childhood
very
journal.
long, very long. Okay, so we consciously conceived, and it was really funny because we were in New York, but he left to go on tour, and he was coming back to Brooklyn to play a show, and it was around his birthday, so it was like lots of fun stuff happening. And I go to meet him at this little restaurant near the venue, and he's like, I got you a puppy. And I was like, okay, awesome. So the puppy's like, he got me a dachshund. She's sweet. She's my puppy, Luna. Now, but I was like, okay, so that was kind of like the entry to like us parenting kind of, I think, for him. And so he gave me the puppy, and then we go to the venue and we have an amazing night, beautiful, listening to music, watching him play, coming home, making love. We conceive that night, of course. So it was beautiful. And he was still on the road whenever I found out. And I did do a pregnancy test, and knew at that point, though, I had read Ina May Gaskin's book, Guide to Childbirth. And that was my entry point into like, I knew that if I ever was gonna have a baby, it would be natural. I knew that for sure. But I didn't know what that looked like because I didn't come from a village of birth wisdom. So for me, it was just like, okay, this book kind of encompasses everything that I am looking for. So the moment I found out and I called him, I was like, I'm calling the farm because I'm going to birth there. Because to me, in my mind, that felt like it offered me a sense of safety and security, going to a place where these elder women held knowledge, right? And so I had it all dreamy in my head about how it was going to be. And so, and also it didn't matter who answered the phone when I called. I was going to say yes to whoever was available. So I called, left a message. They called me back like maybe a day later and said that there was availability for me to come. And I was like, cool, like, what do I need to do? Pay money, sign papers, whatever, I'll do it. Like, let's lock this in. So I lock it in with paying a fee and signing papers. And
wow.
Yeah, it was like immediate. And I also told them that I want to stay there. So there was plans to rent a home on the farm to stay near the end of the pregnancy. That was like right at the beginning. So I wasn't feeling sick yet because I started feeling really sick. So sick to where like the smell of the city affected me so much. I bet. Oh, it was so bad. Like I was going 20 minutes like a couple times a week to the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens just to connect with the earth. And to smell the lilacs and to just ground in and have some peace in this massive city that just never slows down. So I was doing that.
Smells so bad.
Okay, so let's talk about the smell really quick, because I got off the train and this was my turning point where I was like, we are leaving the city. Okay, we're leaving immediately. I get off the train at my stop and I'm walking out, and like when the doors open, it's just like this wafting smell of poop. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is like beyond normal. So we're all like getting out, and you can see the fear like in everyone's faces. They're like, what is it? Where are we headed? Oh God, where are we headed? Where are we headed? And so we go up to the like platform, the second platform, and it's just a small square, right? So it's like stairs, small square, and then stairs out. And it's just diarrhea all over the square. And there's a woman with a note that says, watch your steps, sticking it into the poop. Whoa. And we're all single filing it around the poop. And I was like, and I left that situation and I was like, we're leaving. I'm not staying in New York
Oh my
any
God.
longer.
I mean, if you needed a sign.
I needed a sign.
That's
that was
okay.
the sign.
Mine is not that bad. Mine's not poop related, but I was in LA pregnant and I was just there visiting my friends and we went to walk around Echo Park Lake, which is like the fun little walk. I mean, it's not very nature. It's all like man-made, but it's pretty. And I'm walking behind these two guys and they're just smoking cigs the entire time. And I'm pregnant and I'm like trying to breathe. And I was just like, cities are the worst. It's the opposite of everything. Well, especially a pregnant woman needs. But anyway, I feel you, diarrhea everywhere. Oh my God. Okay. So you're like, get me out. Where do you go?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that with the cigarette smoking because I felt like I was in a cloud of cigarette smoke and just all the disgusting smells all in the city. And the poop just took me over the edge.
So intense. Wow. Okay.
Took me over the edge. So I told Kyle, I was like, we have to leave. It's time. We're going back to Texas. So because we were in Texas before we moved to New York. So we go back to Austin and I want to back it up because something really started my process of like giving my body away and not being embodied was whenever I met with a midwife, because after I had talked to the midwife at the farm, she says, I want you to get care from somebody else up until the point where you come to be with me. So I said, okay. So we go to meet with this woman in Brooklyn and just to like hear the heartbeat and like do all the things and like send that paperwork to Stacy. And we sit down and we do all the tests. And she goes, do you mind taking your top off so I can just look at your nipples? And I didn't think that sounded right, but also I didn't really know. So I was just like, sure. So, and I'm like, fine, whatever. My boobs will be out. Not a big deal to me. But yeah, so I take my top off and she pinches my nipples.
What?
She pinches them and she goes, oh yeah, you're going to have a really hard time breastfeeding.
No.
Yes.
Who does that?
Who does that?
What did you say?
I just like, I didn't know what to do. I just like put my top back on and I like looked at Kyle and was like, what?
That is evil.
Evil. Like basically she was ensuring that I was so out of my power from the beginning.
What the fuck?
With her that like, yeah, it was bizarre. So
like I've been to more births than I could tell you where if I'm there first as the doula, the midwife shows up, and I have been literally to more births than I could count where in multiple different midwives where the first words out of their mouth is, this is going to transfer. That's the first thing they say when they walk into the sacred space that is a woman trying to have a baby, you know,
and then
like
setting off the energy in this space, like completely.
Well, and words are spells, right? Their spells are curses, and like to just drop it with a curse, like just like with your experience, like right off the bat, I'm going to curse you.
Yes.
Right. Like it is dark magic.
Yes,
oh my God. Okay. Keep going.
And I felt it with her. And I said, I definitely would never go back to her.
Oh, totally.
When we left, I was like,
God.
thank goodness I'm going to the farm because the farm is going to be my savior from this.
They never do anything bad.
Yeah. So I was just like, what just happened? Like when we left, I just looked at him and was like, what just happened? Like, I'm going to like, how could she possibly know that from just pinching my nipple and looking at them? So I left that experience like kind of beginning to be disembodied, to be like, oh, this machine isn't working.
Totally.
It doesn't, it's wrong. There's something wrong with me. So we go to Austin and I find a birthing center who you don't see the same midwife ever.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like very, it just doesn't happen very often that you see the same one. So go to the birthing center, getting care from them. And through reading the book, I had already in my mind, I was like, oh, I don't need to do like scans or sonograms or whatever. Like, I don't need to do any of that because the farm's not going to do that anyways. So I don't need to do that. However, when I went to get care from them, they said I have to do all of these things in order for me to get care from them.
Yeah. That's empowerment, right?
So yeah, so I had to do all these things. I got diagnosed with gestational diabetes and was having to do blood tests every day, 3 times a day, and reporting back to them, because if I didn't do this, then they would drop me.
Dude, that is so abusive.
So abusive. And then they were like, so you have to get a sonogram to make sure all of the parts of your baby are present. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to know the gender. Please don't tell me the gender. And so we did the whole thing. I didn't even look at the screen because I was so afraid that they were going to like accidentally tell me. So, and then Kyle also, he didn't see that the gender. So, and then eventually they were like, because you have gestational diabetes, you have to have another sonogram to ensure that your baby is normal. And by the way, like, I'm healthy, never had any issues health wise. I didn't.
Well, gestational diabetes is a complete scam.
Right, is a total scam, and I agree, because I was like, there's no way that this is true for me. This is just the way my body operates in pregnancy, because I wasn't feeling signs or symptoms in my daily lived experience.
Well, it's just like how they're gaslighting everyone with the COVID narrative. It's like, oh, you could be asymptomatic and still really, really sick and dangerous. You know,
yeah,
like what a beautiful way to disembody a population, to tell them.
Yeah.
And in your case, to tell
control.
Yeah. It's pretty epic. Okay. Yeah. So that's all nonsense.
Yeah, that's all nonsense. But yeah, so that's happening, going through all this. One really beautiful thing, I mean, I'm just connecting with my baby. I'm just so in love with being pregnant, even though it's been challenging with being sick. Then the second trimester was really beautiful for me, because I like felt like I was pregnant, but like not pregnant, because I just felt really good.
Yeah.
And I went to my holy place, Sedona, to just prepare myself for motherhood. And I went out to Oak Creek and went out onto this beautiful big rock in the middle of the creek, and just took a nap, and just being with my baby and blissing out. And when I came out of this state, I was just like, whoa, like, I'm having a girl. Aww. And I'm naming her Sedona James. And that's it. And I remember having a conversation with my mom, and she was like, have you thought of any names when we were heading up there? And I was like, I don't know. I just, like, nothing really. I'm just kind of waiting for the moment that it comes to me. And it did. And it was so beautiful. And it was just girl. And it felt so real. And it was like this first real like connection to my intuition, where I was like, no, this is absolutely true and real. It's not wrong.
And like the most true.
Yes, the most true. Yeah. And that was really like the awakening for me. This like becoming a mother. I needed to become a mother to continue to ascend and to live into who I am and my purpose on this planet. So,
and to like choose yourself,
to choose myself, to center myself. Absolutely. Yes. And I'm so right there with you, because I wasn't, and I had never been. And when I finally did, and I started to really connect into myself, I was like, oh, wow, like I carry it all. It's all
totally
here. So yeah, jumping back to we leave. I have an amazing experience in Sedona, come back, and I'm just feeling so like ready and excited, and just just so excited. I have to go to Tennessee to meet with the midwife before we actually like go and stay. She wanted me to come visit. So we go and visit Kyle's mom and Kyle's still on tour. So we go and visit, and we see the home we're going to stay in. We're staying at the Forest House, which is at the front of the farm, the first house you see before you enter the gates. And it is totally wooded and beautiful. It just looks like heaven. It's massive. And which is like way too big for us. Come to find out, we were just like, this is too much space. I didn't feel safe in it once I was actually living in it. So we meet with Stacy, and everything seems fine. She's really excited about it all. And she tells me stories about the Amish community and how she's just very like intertwined into that community, and like how birth is. So for me, I think she was saying it to me so that I felt safe with her. because she's like, oh, the Amish community, they don't do anything. They're basically like free birthers too. But I think that they do call in the midwife sometimes. But anyway, so I think she was saying that so that I would feel safe with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I did at that time. Okay, so we come back to Austin, and we are headed to, we head back in, she was born in February. So we headed out 2 weeks before her due date, her expected due date. And we get there and we're thinking, oh, we're going to be fine 40 weeks and she'll be here. And Stacy's like, oh, it's so exciting. Like no issues. We're not going to do any like tests or anything like that. Just checking me and making sure I'm comfortable and all of this. And we're settling into the house. And I thought there was going to be like gatherings of, you know, like coming together with the elder women and them giving me this birth wisdom that I'm longing for and making me feel safe and seen, and like dinners and yoga and swimming or like whatever, you know. I just didn't know what
you thought it was like a retreat center for birth. Yeah, which is kind of how they pitch it of how it was.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. So I just thought it was going to be like this experience.
Not just like what it actually is, which is you rent a home and then you have prenatal visits.
Yeah, for way too much money.
Yeah. And
like exploitive almost. So we go to, so we're there, and then it was like, okay, I'm 41 weeks now. And at 41 weeks, she's like, okay, now you're on a timeline. If you don't give birth by 42 weeks, then you're going to have to go to the hospital and get checked and be released and say it's okay, blah, blah, blah. So 41 weeks and one day, I'm starting to feel really like, okay, like I have to have this baby. It's not about me anymore. It's about me birthing, and it's not about my sacred process. It's about their timeline. And we go and have a visit. So now we're visiting with her every day, and we go on Monday and I have a visit with her, and she checks me. And when she checks me, I have bloody show. So she's like, okay, something's happening.
Yeah. If you finger a pregnant woman enough, she's going to have some fucking blood.
Yes.
It floors me that the farm midwives do prenatal vaginal exams.
Yeah.
It says everything.
Okay. So it gets worse. So on Wednesday, I finally like start feeling sensations. Like my belly is tightening, and like, it feels like the beginning. And for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, something's happening. I'm so excited. This is like, it's happening now. And so he calls her, it's the evening, and he calls her, and she's like, okay, I'll come in the morning. She comes in the morning and things are happening. She checks me, I'm 3 centimeters. And at that point, she could have been like, cool, you need to just rest. You just need to go lay down and rest. But instead, she's just on her computer watching me completely exhaust myself. And the only person who's really talking to me is her assistant, who is so sweet and kind and just so loving, and actually supported me, like actual nourishing support more than she did. She's trying to help. I'm like dancing, feeling good. Like I've got the oxytocin going, and I'm just like, loving this. Like everything's super dreamy. I feel like everything's like bubbly and like beautiful and just super excited. And then she surprises me with a monitoring system. She goes, okay, cool. Now I need to monitor you. So she gets this system out, like a computer thing, but like, it's all like wires and stuff. And she did not tell me this was going to happen. So I have a bodily, because I am very energetically affected by just that. This is how my body communicates. And it like really like energetically like talks to me. So all of my energy centers are like, whoosh, like just came like online, but adrenaline, like major adrenaline. And so of course my baby is going to monitor weird, because all of my blood is in the rest of my body. And so she's like, it's not looking good. So we need to transfer you. So I had to transfer it took me 30 minutes to get there. Yeah. So we transfer, it takes 30 minutes to get there.
So what she did external fetal monitoring, like the circles that go on the belly, ultrasound essentially without the screen. And she didn't like the strip.
She didn't like it.
And so she just kicks you out.
Yeah, she says, it's time to go. We got to go to the hospital.
Wow.
So we go to the hospital 30 minutes away. And of course, I'm
Are you at
freaking
Vanderbilt?
out. No, it was Southern Tennessee Women's Center. And I'm freaking out. Like, I'm so upset. I'm crying. I'm just having a total reaction to this whole thing, just like emotionally like distraught. I'm feeling like so stressed. And of course, my baby's feeling that. And we get there and they set me down, they monitor me. At this point, I've like calmed down, and they monitor and they're like, oh, your baby's fine. Go back to the farm. And Stacey's like, oh, I love coming here so I can get the good ice. And then she starts taking supplies out of the room that I have to pay for.
What?
Yes.
Good ice?
The good ice.
This is so weird.
Yeah.
You know, I've privately, I've done quite a few birth trauma debriefs with women who have birthed at the farm, but I can't think of any women to actually publicly share their story. And if I am forgetting someone, I'm sorry, but I can't think of anyone right now. And I'm glad that this is getting publicly shared because, like I said, I've done a lot of birth trauma debriefs with women who have had very similar experiences. Yeah. Okay. So she's stealing equipment
with me paying for it, getting the good ice. And she was just, this will be your team if we transfer again.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking like, I'm not going to transfer. Like, I still believe in my body and we're going back to the farm, but I'm just like so tired. I'm 3 centimeters at this point. It's Thursday, like afternoon. And I've, just been laboring. I'm tired and I'm not really able to eat. We go back to the farm and I'm laboring all night. And then I get really tired, like so tired that I need to sleep, but I can't sleep because they're just like strong enough to keep me from sleeping. So she's like, go be in the bathtub. So I go and I'm in the bathtub. And I'm in there probably for 8 hours, just trying to rest. And at the end of it, Kyle brings me an egg and is like, here, you have to eat. Like you're so pale white, like you have to eat something. And I had no energy to eat. And she came in and said, at my most vulnerable moment, she came into me while I'm in the bathtub naked, not able to eat. And she looks at me and says, if you don't birth by this afternoon, you're going to have to transfer anyways, but I have to leave you because there's another woman who needs me. So unless you go to the hospital right now, I'm going to leave you for another woman. This is what she told me. At my most vulnerable, when I needed her to help me, to pick me back up and just say, look, we need to come up with a game plan that's going to work. Instead, she just abandoned me.
Weird.
So I said, so even in that moment when I was at my most vulnerable, I said, I can still do this. And she goes, cool, I'm leaving. What? And so she leaves. And for a second I was like, and then when I felt her presence leave, I was like, I actually need her. I needed her. I just need her to be with me. And because she was the only thing left, it was just going to be me with Kyle, who didn't really know what to do. So yeah, we leave, so I go, please go get her and tell her to come back. I'm going to the hospital. So,
but there's other midwives. This is so weird. And this is so irresponsible.
Yeah. And she watched me exhaust myself. So it felt like once we transferred to and I'm still 3 centimeters.
Dang.
Okay. So we get to the hospital and, I went from like doing nothing to like now being at the hospital, getting an epidural. Oh, this was really interesting. So I get to the hospital and I'm like stressed out and they go, okay, we're going to give you something to like help with the anxiety. And so then they give me something to help with the anxiety and I lose my words. I can't speak.
Yeah.
So I'm no longer.
Do you know what they gave you?
I don't remember.
It was probably fentanyl.
But it was just like, I couldn't speak anymore. So then I was just like at the mercy of Kyle communicating for me.
Oh my God.
And
that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. So I'm also, whenever we get there, I'm one of 2 women birthing at the center. So we had like full care. Like we weren't being ignored or anything. Like, in fact, like we were probably like a happy, like reception because they needed something to do. But yeah, so they give me that. And then they're like, okay, cool. You're going to get the epidural. I get the epidural and I go to sleep for 6 hours. And when I wake up, I'm finally like 9 and some, almost ready. Like my body is I'm starting to feel my body again. Like I can sit up and I have the bar and I'm like, my body's like, I can feel my body is like ready to birth my baby. I need to get up and move around, but they wouldn't let me move around. And Stacy's back and with the good ice and like all of this.
So she's with you again?
Yeah, I think she left when I was sleeping and I think she came back. But I asked her to stay with me because the doctor who was going to do the birth was like out doing other stuff. So we're there doing this command pushing essentially. Like she's like right before I'm like told to command push, she goes up and reaches and like is like pulling my cervix, saying like she needs to pull it to let baby's head drop all the way down. And it's like, so she's stretching me, trying to stretch me open so that baby can descend.
It's to help you not tear.
Yes. Okay. So that's not true because I tore.
Of course it's not true.
And so I'm command pushing on my back. Like, you know, my back is like cupped like this and she's coming out. There's just no room for me to move, for baby to come out. I'm pushing.
You're like a turtle on your back.
I was so disembodied because I remember thinking like, I don't even think I can do this anymore. This is so hard. Like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And then the doctor came in and she actually was really nourishing because she's like, what you're doing right now isn't working. You need to do it like this. And so she was kind of coaching me, which was helpful. And then finally, after like 30 minutes of doing that, Sedona James came out, my girl, and I knew it was a girl and everyone knew it was a girl. They were like, we feel her feminine presence. She's going to be a girl. And it was so beautiful. And I did get really beautiful care from the nurses there. They were really sweet and loving, but the rest of the experience was just like horrible. But she came out, I tore, they stitched me, and we stayed for the 48 hours to do all the tests and stuff to make sure Sedona James was okay. And then we left. And I wanted to get away from there as fast as I could. That we stayed for 2 days and then drove back to Austin. 2 days.
You never went back to the farm?
I went back to the farm for 2 days and like got packed up and like, and wanted to just leave so fast because I just did not want to be there anymore because I felt.
Were you like at that point, that quickly postpartum, like, did you understand how betrayed you were?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
In the moment, in like one of my things is I had to go back and heal the moment when she came to me at the bathtub. That was my moment where like I got a huge healing where I had to be present for myself and be like, you can do this. You were designed for this. And so, yeah, I knew at that moment when she did that, like that, yeah, I had basically become a transaction. She was not invested in me. In my experience and like uplifting me. And yeah, no, it wasn't like that. So I knew that I had become a transaction and that she didn't care. And it came to be known that she didn't care because I never got a call on my baby's birthday the next following year to say, oh, happy birthday, just want to celebrate you. Like nothing like that. So that was another like, okay, now I know. So at that point I was like, I'm never having another baby. Never, ever. I'm good. I had my baby. I know that that's how that is going to go. I'm not going to do that again. I found your podcast and I was just like celebrating women birthing in this like beautiful way. And it was so resonant. It felt so nourishing to hear these stories and was healing for me to be like, oh, wow, this is so powerful. Like, I'm so happy that you are here doing this work because women need this so that what happened to me doesn't happen to more women. And I just like, yeah, I just listened to all of the interviews and just love them so much and so powerful. And then I was still like not going to have another baby, even though I loved all the stories and all this, it didn't really ignite in me this need to have a baby. But I think it happened so that when I was in all of this, I had 2 dreams. I had where my great uncle came to me and he says, your baby wants to come. And I was like, no, this is just the me listening to the podcast. And like, oh my God. That's what's happening right now. It's just me listening to the podcast and it's really beautiful. And But then, so I put it off. I was like, no. And he came again. And I was like, okay, so this is real.
That's crazy.
He came to me and he was like, your baby wants to come. And I haven't discerned yet if it was that wants to come or if my baby wants to come and he's the messenger.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I tell Kyle, I was like, look, he came twice. We're going to just do this. We're going to do 3 months. We're going to try 1 day each month and see what happens on a day I know I'm ovulating.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to do this. So we try. So the first day, the first month, he came and came into my womb. And it was beautiful, but it was like immediately I knew that he came to be my healer because he was like, this isn't okay. Like you need more healing. You need to be awake and present for this because your purpose is it needs to be achieved in this lifetime. And I'm here to continue to activate you to fulfill that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt it like it was a full body thing. And then I felt, I have to return to the land, to connect to the land where my light first met the darkness and where I first had trauma. And so it was like a full body thing. Like, it was like, I have to go back to my childhood home and be there on this land to begin to heal, to rewalk my pain path essentially, so that I can manifest this free birth. Because I knew in that moment too, whenever we conceived, that I was going to free birth because it was so resonant. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like done, gonna do that. So we're gearing up, getting ready to go back to Tennessee, to my hometown, Clarksville, and just be on the land and like just see what happens. At this point, we're living in an Airstream, and we had been living on the road for 2 years. And yeah, so we just packed up the Airstream and headed to Tennessee. And in this time, I'm calling the Austin area birthing center to be like, hey, can you release my paperwork to me just so I can have my information? I just want to have it for some reason. I didn't know why, but I just wanted to have it. And she goes, yeah, I'll give it to you for $30. And I said, that's a business expense. And no, I'm not paying $30 for my information. I trusted you to hold on to that and to give it to me when I need it.
Weird. I've never heard of anyone charging for that.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So they were going to charge me $30. And I said, that belongs to me. And I trusted you. And now you're telling me I have to pay you to get it. She's like, well, if I can give it to your provider for free, but I have to give it to you for $30. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And she is like, okay, $15.
What?
And I said,
so
no.
Weird.
I said, I don't want my information. I'm not going to pay for my information, not even at a discount. And I just said, you know what? You can keep it. And I was like, I just want you to know in this moment that you are not for women. What you're doing is not for women. You are for the system. The system has infiltrated you so much that you can't even see it anymore.
I mean, they were always the system. Yeah, totally.
And you can't even see it anymore. So yeah, I just said, you can keep it. Bye. And
they never got it.
And so I woke up the next day and she had emailed it to me because I think she thought
that's what I was going to guess.
Okay. So yeah, so I go and to Tennessee, I'm healing. It's crazy. Just so much is happening for me in the spiritual process of me. But then we come back I had to leave Tennessee because it was like so much. And I felt like I had done as much healing as I could do there. So I come back to Texas. We're still in the Airstream. We rent an Airbnb in Travis Heights near South Congress. It's so beautiful. And it's just a cute little bungalow. And we are there for a month, just kind of nesting, waiting for baby to come and just loving it up, going for walks. So beautiful. I started doing Nancy's meditations, and it was so useful for me because I was present for them. Like I consciously did them and would go through the meditation process. And then as I got really comfortable and in knowing who I am, and what I'm capable of as a birthing woman, I started taking them into my naps. And so they were like reinforcing that inner dialogue and like, yeah, just giving me so much life. And so I would do that in my naps. And then during this time, that month, I was having the shooting sensations. So it was like, I was essentially like opening, I guess, even before like it actually began. So I was having that, I was getting chiropractic work, and it was awesome. Just love the whole experience in the later half of my pregnancy, because I felt like I had finally like gotten somewhere in my spiritual journey and my healing to where I could be totally present for the birth. And because I had been having these sensations, I was like, oh my gosh, like when it finally did happen, I was like, oh, it's not even like, it's not happening. Essentially, I thought, I was just like, oh, it's not even happening. Like, it's fine. I'm just going to go lay down. So I go lay down, and and then it stops. So I get back up. I was like, cool, it's not going to happen. And I get back up, and then it starts being pretty regular. Sedona James goes to bed at 7ish, and I am like, okay, I'm gonna just kind of go off on my own. So I tell Kyle, I was like, live your life. I don't need you for anything. I just need to do this by myself.
And had you had a totally wild pregnancy?
Yes, I had a totally intuition-led wild pregnancy and free birth. So I got no care from anyone. I was my own caregiver, other than going to the chiropractor and getting a massage. But otherwise, I just was so connected to my intuition and to the divine within, and just living through that space, and so connected to my baby.
How much like fear did you have to work through to free birth, or was it more just like so obvious?
Or both? So much work.
Yeah.
Like the whole, for me, and what is now something that I do, which is the journey of pregnancy is the tool, right? Like it's the healing that you have to go through in order to do something like reclaim your power to free birth, because you know that your body is divinely designed and perfectly created to do this. So I had to, it was a full 9 months of me doing this really hard, challenging work, but it was the work worth doing, because now I'm on the other side and I'm just living in bliss, essentially, and creating my own reality through my deservingness and my truth. So
no big deal.
Yeah.
Just went through the gates of hell to have heaven on earth.
Yes, exactly. So
hashtag worth it.
Definitely worth it. So I'd go, it was like, okay, so Sedona James went to bed, and then it was like 8:30, and I was like, okay, by 9:30, if it's like still going, then it like must be happening. It must be happening. So at 9:30, it was like, okay, it's still going. I was like, okay, now I'm gonna like go to 10:30 and see like if it's getting more intense. So at 10:30, I knew it was on. So I thought I was going to be in the spare room. I had made a birth altar. It was beautiful. But then I ended up feeling comfortable in the bathroom. It was a big bathroom. It had a bathtub, a shower, like all the things. So then I'm like bringing in like stools and chairs and ottoman, and like just use like whatever thing I could find to like see what was going to work for me. So it ended up being an ottoman and a towel, or an ottoman and a pillow. And I just, had that in there. That felt good. But in the beginning, I really learned that because of how my body is, and that my energy centers are so alive, and that's how I'm like taking in information, I started harnessing, like welcoming the sensations and harnessing that power that was moving through me. It was all just because I was so connected to my intuition and connected to the divine within, that I felt like I was grabbing this power, this concentrated energetic power moving through me, that is the tool for me to birth my baby in power and sovereignty. I'm moving this down, starting at my crown, moving into my third eye, then into my throat, but like really pushing it down, moving it down. I'm like swaying my hips, just pushing it down all the way through, and then opening my cervix, using that expansive energy to just open my cervix, and then like to continue pushing the energy out of my cervix and then back into the world, like to where I'm creating this loop. So it's like this upward and downward, just like moving with it. I was so in alignment. It was so beautiful. And just like harnessing this power was like so epic for me. And in that moment, I knew like, oh yeah, like this is going to be no problem. And it was just like something clicked and I was like in the flow. I had been evacuating all day. So I was pooping all day. That should have been my first sign, but I didn't even think about it. And then I go to do my last poop and then I have bloody show, a mucus plug. And I'm like, okay, I can't have the lights on anymore. I turn the lights off. And I am just swaying my hips, just channeling this power, swaying my hips. It's moving down. It's beautiful. I'm loving it. I've started to journey now. I'm like with my divine, most sacred self. And we're just like in communication, talking, and she's supporting me and I'm supporting me. And it's just like this beautiful thing that's happening. And then I just can't I can't stand anymore. So I get down on my knees. And also by the way, Kyle's still out in the living room watching Hot Wings or something, that one show.
While you're like tripping your face off.
Yes. Okay. He's just like having a beer, watching that show. And
it sounds perfect.
Yeah. And so I'm just like doing this whole thing in here and I'm giving him a play-by-play. So when something happens, like that's moving me in that direction, I'll be like, mucus plug. And I get down, I'm like, okay, I can't stand anymore. So I'm down like on my hands and knees and I'm still swaying, but now I'm like on the ottoman with the pillow and my water breaks. Like immediately when I get down on the floor and on all fours, it just breaks and it splooshes and it's clear. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's clear. This is amazing. Okay. My water is broken. I'll let you know if I need you, like when I need you. And at this point now, I'm holding on for dear life because the energetic power moving through me is like so massive that it's just like, and it's happening so fast. But I'm like so in it. I feel so present for it. And then the next thing I know, like I'm saying to myself, like, I can do this 50 more times. These waves, I can do these 50 more times. And I'm just like building myself up. And then his head immediately goes into the birth canal. And I feel it. It was the craziest feeling to feel that, to be completely present for my body and to feel his head pushing my hips apart. And it felt like good, but there didn't really feel like anything other than just like sensation of like that, stretching. So I feel his head go in and I've completely also checked out mentally. I have told myself I am not going to mentally be a part of this. I'm turning that off.
Nice.
I'm just going to be present for my body and my baby and for this sacred process.
Well, it sounds like you were like, I mean, you had everything you needed to do this, but it sounds like you were truly in that theta state.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And so I just, was here with my body and then I told Kyle, okay, his head's in the birth canal. I can feel it because I reached in and I felt his head. And I was like, you might want to come in just because I'm not going to be able to catch him. I'm too tired. I'm on the ottoman. He's going to come out from behind. So he comes in. I was like, don't turn on the lights, bring a flashlight if you want, whatever, like if you need to be able to see, but like, don't turn on the lights and like, just let me continue to do my thing. So, the one time I take over in my mind and I could feel it go into my mind was I didn't want to tear. And so after his head had gone into the birth canal, it was the next time he came out to his nose and he was just like hanging out there. And I just took over and I said, I just need a second. I just want him to be here so that I can stretch and I won't tear. And then after that wave was over, I released and I kicked my leg back like a horse and he just flew out. He just flew out and it was so cute. Like Kyle handed him to me and I received him and I looked at him and I looked at Kyle and I was just like, I did it. Like I had no other words, like, just like I did it. And I'm like surging with like oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like standing up, like fully in my power, feeling it completely present for my body. I was like, okay, placenta's coming. I'm so excited about placenta coming. I get into the bathtub and he's like, you got to get a diaper on that baby because he's going to poop on you. And I was like, no, I don't care. Let him poop on me. And
it's such a funny thing to care about when you're like covered already.
Yeah, but he's like, he hasn't gone on the journey. Right. So, so he, I was like, I don't care. I get in the bathtub and then, like very quickly placenta comes out and I receive her. And I put her in the bowl and we go into the spare bedroom where I had readied the bed for us to lay down. And I immediately put him on my breast and we just snuggle, and we, like through free birth, through like returning to my ancestral birth and postpartum healing ways, I was like fully able to integrate spirituality into my daily life. Everything became so spiritual. I became a living shrine to my ancestral line and the altar to which my baby comes to pray. And I became the sacred spring. And since then, it's just, I've been on this like crazy spiritual ascension and like fully in presence for my responsibility and my purpose to the universe. In raising our collective vibration to heal humanity and to save our beloved Mother Earth. And it's just been such a powerful blessing to free birth and to return to my ancestral birth ways and to be that sacred spring and to then receive placenta and take placenta back into my body so that she becomes me again. And it was just like this whole thing, it just like kept opening and opening and got more layered and dynamic and beautiful. And just the whole experience was so powerful. And yeah, and then that was it. Like I birthed my baby. I was feeding him. We did the cord burning ceremony. I made my own placenta medicine because I feel like that's been hijacked from women, even in the realm of natural birth. Like, oh, you can't do that yourself. Somebody needs to do that for you. So I had created a menu essentially for Kyle to use and to be able to like, oh, okay, like this is what I need to do to help. So he helped me make all of my placenta medicine. And then I created a guide for women to do this themselves because this belongs to women.
Through pills or what?
So for me, I did, so I ate it raw-ish, and then tincturing how to tincture it. So I tinctured it and did the dehydrated pills. I made a spirit medicine.
You did it all.
Yeah, I did it all. So I was really beautiful to do that, to connect to placenta and it was really the integration of like doing the cord burning ceremony, then the placenta medicine, and then like he's perfect also. Like my baby's perfect. He instantly was starting to breathe. It was amazing and had no issues. And yeah, and he's been such a gift ever since. And Sedona James came in to see him like right after he had been born. She woke up and like came in and was so excited to see him. It was just a really powerful time.
How old was she when he was born?
So she was 3.
And I guess I didn't catch this part of your story. Did you breastfeed Sedona James?
Yes, definitely breastfed her and had no issues, except for the first 2 weeks she mutilated my nipples, like just the way like they were bleeding and blistering. But like I was just like, you know what, I'm not giving up on this because I'm not going to let that be true for me. And so after about 2 weeks of my breast being mutilated, she finally like figured it out, and we're still nursing. She still nurses. So
did you ever send the shitty midwife a picture of you nursing? It's actually been easy, bitch.
yeah. No, it's like I was just, and with Cave, it was no problem. He just latched on like a champ, like no big deal. So I know it was just a matter of like, I was so out of my body and I'd given all of my power away that's why I had that experience. And I didn't have the nourishment from women who like you, who like lift up women. So yeah, once I just decided like, no, I'm not giving my power away anymore. It was just a totally different experience.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Where you don't know, you don't know that this like seemingly lovely midwife who says all the right things and who is at the farm, which is legendary and painted as this like utopia for birthing women, like you don't know that she's actually going to just be a thief and abandon you and totally sabotage your birth. Like that's the other piece, right? That's so violent in this whole situation that we're in, because so many women are tricking other women and we're the most vulnerable when we're pregnant with our first, and it's so unknown, and it's so just confusing and intense, and it's such an intense initiation into this next phase. And then to be betrayed and abandoned by the very archetype that we're like deeply programmed to trust and be guided by, like the wise woman archetype. Anyway, it's just such a huge reclamation, I think, that we're all going through, of like, okay, like we see that, and we see all this, misogyny, being passed between women, and we experience, so much betrayal in that. And then to just be like, that's not mine, and I'm going to just free birth. I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to just like do better for myself and for all women. It's really, it can be a really lonely path, but there's so many of us, even if we're not all like in the same neighborhood,
Yeah, it's so true. It does feel very lonely in times, but I know that it's with purpose, and in that it gives me so much strength.
Yeah. I got this visual when you were describing the cave's birth in the bungalow, of you doing like a series of children's books, and one would be called The Ottoman and the Pillow.
Oh, I love it.
It would be like just about, like mommy finding her like layers and positions and birthing the baby. And it would be like the ottoman and the pillow could like talk or something.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so cute, because I have in the past been like, oh yeah, like whenever I found out I was pregnant with Cave, I was like, oh, I want to make a book for Sedona James so that she can understand what it means to birth and what she's to expect. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you bring that back into my consciousness, because I had put it away.
Totally. Also, the other children's book that you should do is something like The Sacred Spring, because something I happen to know about you that you haven't said on this podcast is that you're a bit of a spring hunter.
Yes, I
am. Meaning water, real water, springs. And it could be something about spring hunting and spring water, but then also like the mother's spring,
which is where I even was like, I am the sacred spring, because it happened when I was journeying to drink from the breast of Mother Earth.
Totally.
That I was like, I made the connection. I was like, I am Mother Earth embodied, and I am the sacred spring for my baby, and this is all interconnected.
Totally.
So powerful.
We got two children's books on decks on the deck. I love it. I can see it. Yeah, it's so true. And I was thinking when you were talking that like, and I wonder, because maybe it's easy for you, so you might not even like realize, or maybe you do, I don't know, but it takes so much courage to speak the way you're speaking about your experience, and perhaps courage comes really easy for you, or in vulnerability. But the way that you're speaking about your experience and how true it is and how honest it is, and to really claim it as the spiritual experience that it has been for you and as a part of your ascension. I was just thinking as you were saying it, like that's stuff that's like pretty much not allowed to be said in our society. It's pretty quickly written off as whatever, like cuckoo, like whatever stuff that doesn't actually matter, because that's not what it is. But I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think it takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to speak that honestly, not just about how good it can be, but how significant it is to our spiritual development. And it's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me and honoring that, because spirituality is a lifestyle. Like it has become everything for me. So yeah, to hear you say that is really powerful, because it is my intention.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yes, I'm so happy that we got to spend time today together. It's so beautiful.
Do you have any thing you want to offer for people to find you? Because I know people might want to, especially if they're local, if you're doing a women's circle or anything like that.
Yes. So currently I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. And you can find me on Instagram where I'm channeling most of my work. It is Ashley Rae Hancock, and also at Spiritual Birth Keeper, because I feel like the spiritual side of me has really risen and wants to be acknowledged right now in helping other women to dive deep into their spirituality and to use that as a tool for their pregnancy and into birth and receiving their babies in power and in sovereignty. And I have a Placenta Medicine Ways guide that I'm really excited about, which I need. You are due this. I'm going to send you one and lots of other goodies, because you were really like the initiator for me. Like, your podcast was so life-changing. So you are due like a major gift of thanks. So I'm going to send you everything that I have.
Send it. Awesome.
And yeah, I'm excited to give women back what is their birthright as a woman, and that's how to use your placenta to make sacred medicine to heal yourself and your baby and postpartum, and even into menopause.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much. I love these stories. I love your reclamation story and just your intention, and yeah, just so many women will derive much inspiration from this. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And that's it for today, my sisters. Check out everything we do, including one-on-one and group coaching, learn about our private membership, in-person retreats, and more on freebirthsociety.com. Our online courses are on freebirthsocietycourses.com, including our flagship course, The Complete Guide to Free Birth. Don't miss the Radical Birthkeeper School if you're ready to become the authentic midwife that women are searching for. Together we rise, and the revolution starts inside each of us. I'll leave you with our Free Birth Society theme song, Wild Woman by Aruba Red.
I honor you for the wisdom you held, the ancient traditions of plant medicine and womb magic. I feel the spirit of the ancestors as I place my hands upon my belly. This sacred portal will be honored. Eons upon light beams of survival, withstanding the eradication of our power by design. I will not allow the separation of our young to be forced upon me. My sisters will no longer birth in captivity. The picket line redefined from burning our wild women to paralyzing us and drugging our babes. Strapped down in a clinical white bed, drying up the milk from our breasts. Keep your needles. My family will never again be doomed to chase those dragons or your poison. We reject your fear. We choose love. Everything with intention. Death, ascension. I will fly and bring her back